All right, good morning, everyone. This class video is for Wednesday, April 1st, 2020. Welcome back. Today's class, we're going to go over kind of the third point of the four takeaways from the Creation and Evolution podcast. I got a few things on the board that I'm going to show you guys in just a moment. But as a review, yesterday we talked about why we can believe that the truths discovered by science, what evolution has proven, can be in harmony with the truths revealed by God. We talked about why that was. We also talked yesterday about how Genesis chapter 1 distinguishes between God fashioning and God directly creating, and how those moments when God directly creates something in Genesis 1 kind of explain the scientifically unexplainable, such as how did something come from nothing? How did something non-living become living? And then last, how did man, who is rational, seemingly so much more intelligent than animals, how did man come about? But today I want to talk a little bit more about how God relates to the universe. So God is the primary cause. Okay, we're going to get back to what that means in just a second. But God is a primary cause of everything. But that doesn't really put him in competition with natural causes and the evolutionary development of the universe. So all that's to say is that we don't have what I think a lot of people misunderstand. We don't have a universe where God is in competition with nature. And we also don't live in a universe where it's just nature that's causing everything randomly. Rather, we kind of have a hybrid of both God holding everything in existence and God also allowing his creation to develop within secondary causes. So a good way of kind of looking at it is, so let's spin my computer around here. It's just kind of fun. So first we have kind of the theological view, which isn't really, let's just do it this way. Perfect. So first we kind of have the theological, purely theological view, which basically is to say God directly causes all outcomes in the universe. What this basically means is that God directly is the cause of everything that happens in the universe. Now, you might think that's kind of odd because clearly it doesn't seem to be that way. There's a lot of explanations we can find within nature. For instance, the development of creatures and evolution. We don't really need to look for and explain the reason for that thing happening by appealing to God. We can just look in nature. So that's the reason why that kind of view doesn't really fall short. But if you look here in the top left, atheistic evolutionary believers basically look at nature as the sole explainer of every single outcome in the universe. So nature creates all kinds of outcomes. Basically, the only thing that exists is material things, and we can just continually find explanations all the way back to the origin of the universe. So the cause and the effect relationship between how we got here, we can look all the way back through the chain of causes, all the way back to the Big Bang and the beginning of the universe. Now, the reason why that kind of falls short is because it doesn't really explain how something can come to exist out of nothing. So the third view, and I think this is kind of the hybrid view that I mentioned, is a universe where we have God as the primary cause of everything. God, who holds everything in existence, was the cause of everything that came to be in the beginning, but has allowed and watched the universe develop and unfold over time. So God creates the universe causes certain outcomes to occur, those outcomes cause other outcomes, so on and so forth, with evolutionary development to where we are in the present day, about 13.6 billion years later. But why that's great is it doesn't disregard science, which is all the explanations, the physical explanations, but also doesn't disregard God, who's the primary cause of everything. So when we think about an example of, let's say, you and I, did science and nature cause us? Yes. In as much as evolution is true, in as much as we developed from the apes. But did evolution cause us to have a soul, a human soul? No, that would be a moment where God directly intervenes. So we see a universe, the correct view of the universe, we see a universe where God is holding everything in existence, was the beginning cause of everything, and is working simultaneous alongside and not in competition with everything that happens within his universe. what I was just talking about is kind of going back to an example from last week that has to do with the homework. So if you remember the question I gave you guys about Harry Potter, where I basically said who caused Voldemort trying to seek revenge on Harry Potter in the final three books of the series? Was it the creator of the book, J.K. Rowling, or was it the character of Voldemort itself, who basically was defeated by Harry Potter and tries to seek out revenge and tries to kill him? Well, the correct answer is, a lot of you guys put this, is both. So J.K. Rowling, if she hadn't written the book in the first place, this never would have happened. But also the character of Voldemort is the one who directly causes, I guess you could say, the seeking of the revenge on Harry Potter in the final book. So the correct answer is both. And why this is important is it kind of demonstrates what I just showed you guys on the board, is that the normal way that God works within his creation is through secondary causes. And that's a fancy way of saying all of the physical causes you see around the universe, basically observing a cause and effect relationship in the universe. That's the normal way that God works. He isn't in competition. A good example of this is, something causes something else. Currently, we're looking for an example. A lot of research for finding a cure for the coronavirus. There's constantly things that are happening that are causing people to find results for solving this virus and the problems that it's creating. Those are all examples of secondary causes. But without God in the first place, the primary cause of everything, no secondary cause would be possible. Okay, and I think that's kind of important to keep in mind, is that we can't explain everything ultimately through secondary causes, except those instances where God directly intervenes. We call those instances miracles, the miraculous things that happen that don't have any sort of physical or natural explanation. Those would be miracles. But the normal way that God works within his creation is alongside his creation, allowing cause and effect relationships to happen within the world. Again, but ultimately God, who is the primary cause, is someone we have to appeal to for an ultimate explanation of everything.